Hey guys, we sadly ran out of time today, so we get to go over 4.1 congruent figures via our notes. Hopefully this will help when you're filling out your foldable a little bit later. So what we're going to talk about is congruent triangles. And what congruent triangles are, if the corresponding angles and the corresponding sides of one triangle are congruent to the sides and angles of another triangle, then the triangles will be congruent. Alright, so the matchy-matchy angles and the matchy-matchy sides have to be congruent, and then you can say that the triangles are congruent. Alright, so let's look at this. When you're naming congruent triangles, you must list their corresponding vertices in the same order. So what do I mean? Okay, well, I have these two triangles that I drew out for you. Right, and you'll notice A has one arc to show that it's congruent, and F also has one arc to show that it's congruent. These would be corresponding. They both have one arc, and I went ahead and I circled them in purple. Okay, and then C, it has three arcs to show that it's congruent to G, which also has three arcs, and they're circled in green. So those would be the corresponding angles. All right, and then we move over to H. It has two arcs to show that it's congruent to B, which also has two arcs, and they're circled in pink. All right, so when I'm talking about making the congruency statement, that's basically saying, hey, triangle A, the purple circled angle, B, the pink circled angle, and C, the green circled angle, would be congruent to triangle FHG. Notice how the colors, the purples match, and the pinks match, and the greens match. Those indicate they're the corresponding parts, and therefore they have to be in the same order. The order matters so much, okay? You could also list it in any any way you want to arrange the letters is fine. It just needs to be matching. So the pinks have to match up, B and H. And then the greens have to match up. Those are your middle letters. And the F and the A have to match. And the same thing with this final statement. So the matching is super important, those corresponding parts. Okay, so let's do an example here. Move this over a little bit so hopefully you can see. Started running out of lines here. All right. If triangle JKM is congruent to triangle RQP, what are the congruent corresponding parts? Okay, well, we would say that from J to K, or J and K, J is congruent to R because they're both pink, right? They're circled and underlined in pink. So those correspond. All right, and then we have angle K. It's circled in purple, and because it's second, it would correspond and be congruent to angle Q. And then angle M and P are also congruent because they're circled in green and they're the third one. And then R, oh, we already talked about that. And then we're going to go into their side lengths. So JK, from the pink to the purple, we have to look to this triangle from the pink to the purple. Those sides are congruent to each other because the triangles are congruent. And then we're going to look at KM. That goes from purple to green, purple to green, purple to green. So QP, because they're both from purple to green, would also be congruent. That's the corresponding side. And again with JM, from pink to green, from pink to green. So JM would be congruent to RP. All right, those are those corresponding parts. Let's talk a second about the definition of congruent triangles. Two triangles are congruent if and only if their corresponding parts are congruent. So, if their corresponding parts are congruent, the two triangles are going to be congruent. Definition of congruent triangles. Okay, and let's talk about the included angle, an angle that is formed by two given sides. So A is the included side, is the included angle, little typo there, between C and B. So right here, here's angle A, lines C and lines B make it up. So A would be the included angle, it's right between them. And B, again, wow, what was I thinking here? Angle. Angle. B is the included angle between side C and sides A. And then angle C is the included angle between sides B and sides A. Included angles, they have to be between two sides. All right, and now we're going to talk about included sides. A side that is formed by two given angles. So we would look at here in side A. It is the included angle, included side of angle B and angle C. So side A is the included side between angles B and angle C. Side B is the included side between angle A and angle C. And side C is the included side of angles A and angles B. So it's right between two angles. Then we have the third angle theorem. If two angles of one triangle are congruent to two angles of another triangle, then their third angles are congruent. The third angle theorems. So we're going to say if A is congruent to D, they're both in pink, and B is congruent to E, they're both in purple, then because two of their angles are congruent, that third angle, C and F, would also be congruent. That's the third angle theorem. And those are your notes for today. Bye, guys.